10 of the youngest serial killers in history. Number 10. Amardeep Sada. Amardeep Sada currently holds the distinction of becoming the youngest serial killer in history. When he was only 8 years old, he committed his first murder. You'll be even more startled to learn why an 8-year-old could kill many people if you already wonder how he did it. Each and every one of his victims, there were many, was younger than a year old. He first killed his 6-month-old cousin before killing his 8-month-old sister. He escaped capture. It wasn't until he confessed to stealing the infant from daycare and bashing her head with a stone that police were able to apprehend him after he killed a neighbor's 6-month-old baby. It was inconceivable that a youngster so young could commit such atrocious acts. After being placed in a children's home until he reached 18, Amardeep disappeared from the public eye. Number 9. Robert Thompson and John Venables. Few killings generated as much controversy as the one that claimed James Bulger's life, largely because the killers were just 10 and 11 years old. The two most horrible serial killers in Britain are still Thompson and Venables, who are also the youngest. James, too, and his mother were strolling through the mall when the boys came upon him. James was observed being led by the boys to some nearby railroad lines as they left the mall. When his mother eventually located him, the kid had already been murdered with bricks, stones, and an iron bar. James's body was arranged so that it would be run over by a train on railroad tracks. When they became 18, they were allowed to leave prison, but after authorities discovered child pornography in his possession, Venables went back. Number 8. Mary Bell. Without include Mary Bell, one of the most well-known child killers in British history. When discussing the youngest serial killers in the globe, we would be remiss. Barbie was being played with by most kids when Mary Bell was being detained for the murder of 2 young boys. The first victim, a 3-year-old child, died from suffocation. She carved the letter M into the stomach of the other man. After having her evaluated by psychiatrists, it was discovered that she had endured serious sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. Bell was determined to be too mentally unstable to stand trial. She underwent rehabilitation and stayed in a facility until she was 23. A daughter was born to her 4 years later. She became a grandma in 2009. "I will never see a grandchild from my son," one victim's parent said in a statement. "I hope every time she looks at this baby she realizes what my family is missing out on because of what she has done." There is yet more to the story. Due of its frightening subject matter, Mary Bell's narrative turned out to be one of the best murder documentaries. Number 7. Jasmine Richardson. Wait until you hear Jasmine Richardson's spooky and horrific story if you thought your ex was a bad influence. She started dating 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke when she was just 12 years old. Steinke, who introduced himself as a 300-year-old werewolf, immediately began brainwashing her. Jasmine's parents attempted to end their connection after learning that she is dating a man who is legally allowed to consume alcohol and is 12 years old. In the end, Jasmine and Jeremy went on a murderous rampage. Jasmine murdered both of her parents before killing her 8-year-old brother by stabbing him to death in his bed. The two had vowed to kill anyone who stood in the way of their alleged love, according to investigators. Despite being one of Canada's youngest serial killers, she is anticipated to be freed and intends to lead a regular life. She was referred to as a poster child for recovery by her social workers. Number 6. Craig Price. The majority of the youngest serial killers you'll read about were 15 when they committed their first murder. When Craig Price first killed a neighborhood girl by stabbing her to death after breaking into her home, he was younger, 13. However, he escaped justice for this crime. Police were only able to build a trail back to him after he overdosed on an unknown substance and killed 3 more neighbors. He was just 15 years old at the time of the most recent murder, and the victims ranged in age from 39 to 8 years old. All of his victims had been fatally stabbed, and the 8-year-old had also lost all of his skills. Due to his excellent behavior, he is anticipated to be released from prison in 2018. Number 5. Harvey Miguel Robinson. Harvey Miguel Robinson, one of the youngest serial killers currently serving a death sentence, was just 17 years old when he raped and killed 3 women in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Robinson wanted to bring one of his victims back to her house so he could kill her, which is the only reason he was even seen. Police who were seeking for the woman met him during the kidnapping. Robinson attempted to murder the police because he is a serial killer and is batshit crazy. Not exactly the ideal murder, however. For the first murder, he received a death penalty conviction in 2006. Judges maintained the initial judgment despite his attempts to get the sentence reduced because he was a juvenile when he was prosecuted. He is currently awaiting death. Number 4. Alyssa Bustamante, the murder that scene girl Alyssa Bustamante committed in 2009 caused news organizations to go crazy. Bustamante was found guilty of killing her 9-year-old neighbor in a brutal manner. She was discovered because she had written in her journal about how amazing it had been to kill. Further research revealed that Bustamante had other targets in addition to the little youngster. Police believed her younger siblings were among the other targets since the 15-year-old had excavated additional graves. Bustamante had frequently contemplated killing them previously, displaying a disturbingly nasty side that only the youngest serial killers could conjure. Bustamante did not exhibit much remorse throughout her trial and will serve 35 years in prison before being eligible for release. Number 3. James Fairweather. James Fairweather is one of the few serial killers that exhibits absolutely no regret for his crime, in addition to being one of the youngest ones currently active. Like many other edgy youths, Fairweather frequently discussed his desire to commit murder. Teachers didn't believe him until he fatally stabbed a mentally challenged man who was intoxicated. His second victim was Nahid Almanea, who was killed by stabbing when she was out for a stroll. Fairweather was questioned by police but later released. In actuality, Fairweather wasn't taken into custody until after a third murder attempt. He was called a monster by his own mother, and what was so terrifying about his arrest was that he stated he intended to kill at least 15 more people. Despite his brutality, he had little regard for anyone but himself. Fairweather simply shrugged his shoulders and remarked, "I don't give a shit," when the judge read him his sentence. He was 15 years old when the murders took place. Number 2. Cindy Collier and Shirley Wolfe. These 2 young females, who appeared to be typical, were everything but. Both of the teens were unstable and had horrible homes filled with rape, abuse, and neglect. When they first met, they clicked right away and quickly became close friends. But the thing about troublesome kids is that they don't always act normally when they're grouped together. One day, Collier and Wolfe struck up a conversation with an 85-year-old woman in her house. Collier pulled a knife out of the kitchen, tossed it to Wolfe, and Wolfe fatally stabbed the victim. It was later discovered that the 2 young kids had every intention of killing other people. also for shits and giggles, and that Wolf had written in their journals, "Today, Cindy and I ran away and killed an old lady." It was fun. When they committed their first murder, they were ages 14 and 15. Collier went to a youth center after being institutionalized. She holds a law degree and is currently a mother of 4 kids. Wolf, on the other hand, continues to spend time behind bars. Number 1. Michael Hernandez. Michael Hernandez may be one of the youngest serial killers to actually openly admit that he wanted to be a serial killer. His victim, Jamie Goff, was his best friend, and he stabbed him to death at only 14 years of age. When officials found Goff's body lying lifeless in the school bathroom, Hernandez was immediately investigated. Police found very detailed plans to kill 2 other students at his school. Hernandez claimed he wanted to be one of the most famous killers of all time. Technically, he achieved his goal. He's currently serving life in prison without parole. Though he was tried at only 15 years of age, Michael Hernandez might be among the youngest serial killers to publicly proclaim his desire to commit mass murder. His victim, Jamie Goff, was his best friend, and at the age of just 14, he fatally stabbed him. Hernandez was promptly looked into when Goff's lifeless body was discovered in the school bathroom by authorities. At his school, police discovered extremely thorough plans to murder 2 further children. Hernandez allegedly declared his desire to become one of history's most well-known murderers. He succeeded in his objective in theory. He was only 15 years old when he was tried, but he is today incarcerated for life without the possibility of parole.